Isauria, in ancient geography, is a rugged isolated district in the interior of South Asia Minor, of very different extent at different periods, but generally covering what is now the district of Bozkır and its surroundings in the Konya Province of Turkey, or the core of the Taurus Mountains. In its coastal extension it bordered on Cilicia. It derives its name from the contentious Isaurian tribe and twin settlements Isauria Palia and aɪʻzɔriə. Isaurian marauders were fiercely independent mountain people who created havoc in neighboring districts under Macedonian and Roman occupations. The permanent nucleus of Isauria was north of the Taurus range, which lies directly to south of Iconium and Lystra. Lycaonia had all the Iconian plain, but Isauria began as soon as the foothills were reached. Its two original towns, Isauria and Isauria Palia, lay, one among these foothills and the other on the watershed, approx. N 37°29, E 32°12, near Bozkır. Early history. In the 4th century BC, Isauria began as it would end, and became the wild district about Isauria Palia and the head of the Kalykadnus. When the capital, Isauria, a strongly fortified city at the foot of Mount Taurus, was besieged by Perdiccas, the Macedonian regent after Alexander the Great's death, the Isaurians set the place alight and let it perish in flames rather than submit to capture. Roman rule. When the Romans first encountered the Isaurians, they regarded Cilicia Trachea as part of Isauria, which thus extended to the Mediterranean Sea, and this extension of the name continued to be in common use for 2 centuries. The whole basin of the Kalykadnus was reckoned Isaurian, and the cities in the valley of its southern branch formed what was known as the Isaurian Decapolis. The Isaurians were brought partially under control by the Romans. During the War of the Cilician and other pirates against Rome, the Isaurians took so active a part that the proconsul P. Servilius deemed it necessary to follow them into their rugged strongholds, and compel the whole people to submission, an exploit for which he received the title of Isauricus. The Isaurians were afterwards placed for a time under the rule of Amyntas, king of Galatia, but it is evident that they continued to retain the predatory habits and virtual independence. In the 3rd century they sheltered the rebel emperor Trebellianus. In the early 4th century, all Cilicia was detached by order of Diocletian for administrative purposes from the northern slope of Taurus, and we find a province called at first Isauria, Lycaonia, and later Isauria alone, extending up to the limits of Galatia, but not passing Taurus on the south. Pisidia, part of which had hitherto been included in one province with Isauria, was also detached, and made to include Iconium. In compensation, Isauria received the eastern part of Pamphylia. In the 4th century they were still described by Ammianus Marcellinus as the scourge of the neighboring provinces of Asia Minor, with a major series of raids occurring from AD 404 to 409, including one campaign to eradicate them led by the Eastern Roman general Arbozacius, but they were said to have been effectually subdued in the reign of Justinian I. Several Byzantine emperors were Omicron of Isaurian descent. Zeno, whose native name was Tarasicodus Arauzalmabladadiots, Leontios, who reigned from 695 to 698, Leo III, who ascended the throne of Constantinople in 718, reigned until 741, and his son Constantine V. The empire used Isaurians as soldiers, generals, and at one point they even formed part of the emperor's personal guard, the excubators. However, the population of Constantinople considered the Isaurians as barbarians, and Emperor Anastasius I had to fight a long war against Isaurian rebels. Later history. The site contains ruins of the town and its fortifications. The ruins of Isauria Palia are mainly remarkable for their fine situation, fortifications and tombs. Those of Isauria have disappeared, but numerous inscriptions and many sculpture stelae, built into the houses of Dora, prove the site. It was the latter, and not the former town, that Servilius reduced by cutting off the water supply. J.R.S. Sterett explored in the highland of Isauria in 1885, but it was not exhaustive. The site was identified by W. M. Ramsay in 1901. Ramsay discovered there more than 50 Greek inscriptions, the greater number Christian, as well as magnificent tombs. These monuments date from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th centuries. Ecclesiastical History. Epitaphs have been found of 3 bishops, Theophilus, Sisima, and Mammers, who lived between the years 250 and 400. 3 other bishops are also known: Hilarius, 381, Callistratus, somewhat later, Aetius, 451. The last-named bishop also bears the title of Aɪʻsɔriə, the name of a city which also figures in the Hierocles, Synecdemus, as no notitia episcopatuum makes mention of Isauria, or Aɪʻsɔriə. Ramsay supposes that the diocese of Isauria Nova was early joined with that of Leontopolis. The more recent name of Isauria Pallia, which is mentioned in all the notitia. The Isaurian Church was originally under the authority of the Patriarch of Antioch, but was attached to the Patriarch of Constantinople in the late 7th or early 8th century. Ancient episcopal sees of Isauria listed in the Annuario Pontifico as Catholic titular sees: Adressus, Anamurium, Antiochia Parva, Cardabunta, Salendarice, Claudiopolis in Isauria, Codicar, Coropissus, Dales in Isauria, Isauria in Isauria, Domitiopolis, Germanicopolis, Heliosebaster, Hierapolis in Isauria, Irenopolis in Isauria, Iotapa in Isauria, Lamus, Lausadis, Melo in Isauria, Musbanda, Neapolis in Isauria, Nephalis, Olba, Philadelphia Minor, Sabida, Sebla, Seleucia in Isauria, the Metropolitan Archbishopric, Syca, Titiopolis, Xenopolis in Isauria,